Have you ever wondered if anyone in history has escaped death? It sounds like something straight out of a fantasy novel, but the Bible tells us about three remarkable men who did just that. They didn't die. They were taken by God in ways that defy our understanding of life and death. Today, we're diving deep into the mysterious and awe-inspiring stories of Enoch, Elijah, and Melchizedek. These aren't just old tales. They read powerful accounts that hold profound spiritual significance and challenge our very perception of what is possible with God. So, who were these men, and what made their lives so extraordinary that they bypassed the grave? Let us uncover the secrets behind the men who walked with God and walked right out of this world. First up is Enoch, a figure from the earliest chapters of Genesis. His story is brief, but incredibly powerful. Enoch lived 365 years, which might sound long to us, but it was actually shorter than many of his contemporaries. What set him apart wasn't the length of his life, but the quality of it. Genesis 5:24 gives us this stunning summary. Enoch walked faithfully with God. Then he was no more because God took him away. Think about that. He didn't just believe in God or worship him from a distance. He walked with God. This implies an incredibly close, intimate, and continuous relationship, like two friends walking side by side every single day. Their fellowship was so perfect, so unbroken, that one day, God just ... took him. The transition from earth to eternity was seamless. The book of Hebrews gives us more insight, telling us, by faith Enoch was taken from this life so that he did not experience death. It goes on to say that before he was taken, he was commended as one who pleased God. This is the key. Enoch's life was a testament to what it means to please God. It wasn't about grand gestures or public displays. It was about the quiet, consistent faithfulness of his daily walk. He lived in a world described as increasingly wicked, yet he maintained his purity and devotion. His story is a beautiful reminder that a life lived in close communion with God is the most valuable thing we can pursue. Enoch's departure wasn't an escape from a bad world, but a graduation into God's immediate presence, a reward for a life well lived. He is the first person in Scripture to cheat death, not by his own power, but by God's grace. Now, let's fast forward a few thousand years to our second figure, the fiery prophet, Elijah. Unlike Enoch's quiet departure, Elijah's was anything but subtle. It was a spectacular public event that left no doubt about God's power. Elijah was a powerhouse of a prophet. He called down fire from heaven on Mount Carmel. He raised a boy from the dead, and he fearlessly confronted corrupt kings and queens. He was a man of intense passion and unwavering faith, but he was also deeply human. We see him experience moments of great victory and moments of profound despair, like when he fled into the wilderness, asking God to take his life. But God wasn't finished with him yet. After a long and dramatic ministry, the time came for Elijah to be taken. His successor, Elisha, knew this day was coming and refused to leave his side. The Bible describes an incredible scene in 2 Kings. Chapter 2. Suddenly, a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared and separated the two of them, and Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind. A fiery chariot, a whirlwind, and a man ascending into the sky. A fitting exit for a prophet whose life was marked by fire and power. Elijah didn't die. This event served as a powerful confirmation of Elijah's authority and a dramatic passing of the mantle to Elisha. More than that, it's another powerful demonstration that God is the Lord over life and death. For Elijah, the servant who had called down fire from heaven, it was only fitting that heaven would send down fire to bring him home. Elijah's legacy echoed through the centuries. The prophet Malachi predicted that Elijah would return before the great and dreadful day of the Lord. This is why, many years later, people wondered if John the Baptist or even Jesus himself was Elijah returned. Now for our third and most mysterious figure, Melchizedek. His name means King of Righteousness, and he is one of the most enigmatic characters in the entire Bible. He appears very briefly in Genesis 14, after Abram later called Abraham rescues his nephew Lot from enemy kings. Out of nowhere, Melchizedek, the king of Salem and a priest of God Most High, comes out to meet Abram. He brings bread and wine and blesses him. Abram, in turn, gives him a tenth of everything. And then Melchizedek disappears from the narrative just as quickly as he appeared. We're told nothing of his family, his origins, or his death. This is where it gets really interesting. The silence of the Scripture is intentional. The author of Hebrews in chapter 7 picks up on this mystery and uses it to explain the nature of Jesus' priesthood. The writer says Melchizedek is without father or mother, without genealogy, without beginning of days or end of life. Resembling the Son of God, he remains a priest forever. Most scholars believe the point is that the biblical record is silent on these details to make a theological point. By having no recorded beginning or end, he serves as a type or a foreshadowing of Christ. His priesthood wasn't based on lineage, like the Levitical priests who had to be from the tribe of Levi. It was an eternal, superior priesthood. So, while the Bible does unexplicitly say Melchizedek did not die in the same way it does for Enoch and Elijah, his lack of a recorded death in the narrative is the whole point. He steps onto the pages of history, performs his priestly function, and steps off. His story left open-ended to point to someone greater, Jesus, our ultimate high priest, who truly lives forever to intercede for us. The mystery of Melchizedek isn't about solving a historical puzzle, but about understanding the eternal nature of Christ's work on our behalf. So what do we make of these three incredible stories? Enoch, Elijah, and Melchizedek. Each story is unique, yet they all point to the same profound truth. God has ultimate authority over death. Death is not the final word. Enoch's story teaches us about the reward of a close personal relationship with God. Elijah's story demonstrates God's sovereign power and glory. And Melchizedek's story points us to the eternal priesthood of Jesus Christ, who conquered death once and for all. These men were foretastes, glimpses of a future reality promised to all believers. The Apostle Paul wrote that one day, at the return of Christ, we will all be changed, in a flash, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, the dead will be raised, imperishable, and we will be changed. The experiences of Enoch and Elijah were previews of this great event. They show us that physical death is not an inevitability for everyone in God's plan. Their stories are not just historical curiosities, they are beacons of hope. They remind us that this life is not all there is. They encourage us to walk faithfully with God, like Enoch, to serve Him boldly like Elijah, and to trust in our eternal high priest, Jesus, who is prefigured by Melchizedek. The men who did not die show us that the ultimate goal is not to escape death, but to live a life so connected to the giver of life that death itself loses its sting. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through Scripture. If you found this exploration fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the Bible's greatest stories. See you next time.